If you took a time machine back 2,500 years to the height of the Persian Empire and grabbed a random person from the streets of Persepolis, their DNA would be almost identical to someone walking through modern Tehran today. Despite 25 centuries of invasions, conquests, religious revolutions, and empires rising and falling, Persian genetics have remained virtually unchanged. But wait, it gets weirder. That same ancient Persian's DNA would also show up in a Welsh farmer, a Bengali fisherman, and a German banker. Why? Because Persians didn't just create the world's first superpower, they helped populate half the planet. And here's the kicker: the Arab conquest that supposedly changed everything about Iran? Genetically, it barely left a trace. The Mongol invasion that killed millions? Genetic impact, almost zero. The Turkish dynasties that ruled for centuries? You'd be hard-pressed to find their genes in modern Iran. Today, we're cracking the code of one of history's most shocking genetic mysteries. How did a people survive 3,000 years of chaos while keeping their DNA virtually intact? And why does Persian genetics hold the key to understanding human migration across 3 continents? Picture this. It's 10,000 years ago. Most humans are still chasing mammoths and gathering berries. But in the rugged Zagros Mountains of Iran, something revolutionary is happening. A group of hunter-gatherers looks at wild grass and thinks, what if we could control this? They become the world's first farmers. And here's where it gets crazy. Recent DNA analysis shows these Iranian farmers didn't just change their own lives. They became the genetic godfathers of civilization itself. Scientists call it the Iran Neolithic component, and it's like a genetic signature that spread across the ancient world. These Iranian farmers' descendants didn't just stay in Iran. They exploded outward, carrying their revolutionary agricultural knowledge and their genes to Europe, South Asia, and Central Asia. Imagine you're a European getting a DNA test today. Surprise! About 20 to 30% of your genetic makeup traces back to these Iranian farmers. Same goes for people in India, Afghanistan, and Central Asia. The Iranians weren't just farming, they were accidentally creating the genetic foundation of 3 continents. But here's the plot twist. While their genes spread everywhere, the Iranians themselves stayed put. They became the ultimate genetic homebodies, preserving their ancient DNA while their cousins populated the world. Fast forward to 3,500 years ago. Imagine you're a peaceful Iranian farmer, descendant of those original agricultural pioneers. You're tending your fields when these newcomers arrive, the Indo-Europeans. They're on horseback, speaking a strange language, and they seem pretty confident about taking over. Now, if this were a Hollywood movie, there'd be a massive battle, the locals would be wiped out, and the conquerors would replace everyone. But reality? Way more interesting. The Indo-Europeans show up with their fancy horses and their fancy language, and the Iranians basically say, "Cool language, bro, we'll take it." They adopt Indo-European speech, which becomes Persian, but genetically, they remain almost unchanged. It's like someone walking into your house, teaching you their language, and then leaving while you stay exactly who you are. The genetic evidence is crystal clear. Modern Iranians are primarily descended from those original Neolithic farmers, not the Indo-European newcomers. The R1A haplogroup, the genetic signature of Indo-European expansion, shows up in Iran, but it's like a light seasoning on a dish that's fundamentally unchanged. The Iranians performed the ultimate cultural hack. They adopted someone else's language family while keeping their own genetic identity intact. Now here's where the story gets really wild. For over 1,000 years, Iran was dominated by Zoroastrianism, the world's first monotheistic religion. Fire temples dotted the landscape, and the religion influenced everything from Jewish theology to Christian concepts of heaven and hell. Then came the Arab conquest in the 7th century, and within a few centuries, most Iranians had converted to Islam. You'd think this massive religious transformation would show up in their DNA, right? Wrong. And we have the perfect control group to prove it. When the Arabs conquered Iran, some Zoroastrians fled to India, where they became the Parsi community. For 1,300 years, these Parsis had been completely isolated from Iranian Muslims, marrying only within their community, preserving their ancient religion and customs. So if the Islamic conquest brought massive genetic change, Parsis and Iranian Muslims should look completely different genetically, right? Plot twist. They're virtually identical. It's like having 2 identical twins separated at birth. One raised in Iran, one in India, one Muslim, one Zoroastrian, and finding out they're still genetically the same person. the religious transformation that supposedly changed everything about Iran? Genetically, it was a non-event. Let's talk about the most surprising non-story in genetics: the Arab conquest of Iran. It's 642 CE. Arab armies have just defeated the mighty Sassanid Empire. Iran, the ancient seat of Zoroastrianism, is now part of the Islamic world. Within 200 years, most Iranians have converted to Islam. Persian becomes written in Arabic script. Islamic law replaces Zoroastrian customs. If you're thinking like a Hollywood director, you'd expect massive genetic mixing, right? Arab warriors marrying Persian women, Arabian tribes settling in Iran, a complete demographic transformation. But here's the genetic plot twist. The Arab genetic signature in Iran is almost invisible. The J1 haplogroup, the genetic calling card of Arabian Peninsula populations, shows up in Iran at frequencies so low they're practically statistical noise. It's like the genetic equivalent of a whisper in a thunderstorm. The Turks, same story. Despite centuries of Turkish rule, Central Asian genetic markers are rare in Iran. The Mongols, they literally devastated Iran, killing millions, but their genetic impact is barely detectable. It's as if Iran developed some kind of genetic immunity to conquest. Armies could march through, empires could rise and fall, but the Iranian gene pool remained stubbornly, mysteriously unchanged. Jump to 1501. A 14-year-old named Ismail declares himself Shah and does something unprecedented. He makes Shia Islam the official religion of Iran, creating the religious identity that defines the country today. The Safavids were ethnically mixed, part Turkic, part Kurdish, part Persian. Their rise to power involved massive population movements, forced conversions, and the settlement of Turkic tribes throughout Iran. Surely this would show up genetically? Well, sort of. The Safavid period did leave some genetic traces. You can find slightly elevated frequencies of Turkic markers in certain regions, but it's like finding a few drops of food coloring in a swimming pool. The fundamental genetic character of Iran remained unchanged. What the Safavids really did was create a new form of Iranian identity that combined three elements: Persian culture, Shia religion, and genetic continuity with ancient Iran. It's as if they took the original Iranian recipe and added new spices while keeping the fundamental ingredients the same. The result? Modern Iran, a country where people speak Persian, practice Shia Islam, and carry the DNA of the world's first farmers. Here's where Persian genetics gets really fun. Iran might look like one country on a map, but genetically it's like a collection of time capsules, each preserving different aspects of ancient Iranian history. Head to the Caspian coast and you'll find the Jalaki and Mazandarani people. These populations are like genetic archaeologists' dreams. They've preserved some of the most ancient Iranian DNA signatures, protected by the Alborz Mountains from outside influences. Travel southeast to Baluchistan, and suddenly you're seeing genetic connections to South Asia. The R2 haplogroup, virtually absent in most of Iran, shows up here, telling the story of ancient trade routes and cultural connections. Northwest to Iranian Azerbaijan, and you'll find traces of Caucasian genetics, Armenian and Georgian influences written in DNA. But here's the amazing part. Despite this regional diversity, if you showed a geneticist DNA samples from anywhere in Iran, they could still identify them as Iranian. The underlying genetic signature is so consistent, so ancient, that it's like a genetic fingerprint that's survived for millennia. And here's the cool part. Iranian populations also show adaptations to high altitude. People in the Zagros Mountains carry genetic signatures that help them efficiently use oxygen, similar to what you'd find in Tibetans or Andean populations. Same environmental pressure, same genetic solution, completely independent evolution. The Iranian immune system is particularly fascinating. The HLA system, basically your body's security system, shows incredible diversity in Iranian populations. It's like having a genetic memory of every disease that ever threatened Iran, with natural selection constantly updating the defense system. And here's a fun fact. Iranians show genetic adaptations to their traditional diet. The AMY1 gene, which helps digest starch, varies in ways that correlate with Iran's agricultural history. Populations with longer histories of grain cultivation literally evolved better abilities to digest their own crops. The 20th century wrote new chapters in Persian genetic history. Political upheavals scattered Iranians across the globe, from Los Angeles to London, from Toronto to Sydney. For the first time in millennia, Iranians were mixing with populations they'd never encountered before. But here's what's fascinating. Even after generations of mixing, Iranian genetics remain identifiable. Studies of Iranian Americans show they maintain their genetic distinctiveness despite intermarriage with other populations. It's like Iranian DNA has its own signature that persists even when mixed with other genetic backgrounds. Modern Iran itself is becoming a genetic melting pot. Tehran has become a genetic mixer where regional Iranian populations that were historically separated are now intermarrying. It's creating new combinations while preserving ancient patterns. But the most surprising finding, even in our globalized world, genetic studies can still pinpoint someone's regional Iranian origin with remarkable accuracy. The genetic signatures of different Iranian regions are so persistent that they've survived urbanization, modernization, and globalization. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.